Hey friends, this is Michael Bohm with Youth Apologetics Training. Today we're going to keep going with this series on the Malachy Prophecy, this Petros Romanos prophecy. Again, just in review, I just want to mention again today, like we talked about yesterday, this prophecy was supposedly written down around the 12th century by some archbishop named Saint Malachy. All right, but nobody ever heard about it, and it was suddenly reemerged, was rewritten down, if you will, by Arnold de Wyon in 1595. He claims, this Arnold de Wyon claims, that he found this prophecy of Malachy's in the Vatican's archives. Okay, again, nobody has ever seen this prophecy. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist. Nobody knows where it's at. Nobody has seen it. All right, but de Wyon brings it forward. He rewrites it in 1595, and some strange details around this prophecy. Everything from 1595 going backwards. So the previous 74 popes in this prophecy, the prophecies concerning these 74 popes are perfect matches. I mean, it is just a slam dunk. But then, starting at the 75th Pope and onward, suddenly they're not perfect matches. In fact, they're not matches at all. You really have to stretch to get them to match these popes. The first 74 popes, these little short mottos, these Latin phrases, they all say something specific about the Pope, like the place of his birth, the name of his family, like his family name, or something really, specific about the Pope. And you don't have to stretch. You don't have to go very, very far. A very simple understanding of a Pope will allow you to understand that this prophecy is a perfect match. But once you go from the 76th Pope, I want to be specific here, because the 75th Pope, there's something interesting that I want to mention here in a few minutes. But the 76th Pope going onward, everything's vague and nothing matches, and you have to stretch really far to try and get these popes to align up with their little Latin motto phrase about them. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and move forward and learn a little bit more about this Saint Malachy prophecy. Okay, now yesterday we talked about the first 74 popes that were on this list of pope or papal prophecies and how accurate they were, okay, and how just spot on those first 74 were. Okay, and then after those 74, there is the 75th prophecy that, again, matches that of Cardinal Simon Celli. And just in review, he's the guy that was good friends, coincidentally, with Arnold de Wyon, and his motto was De Antiquate Urbis, or of the antiquity of the city. And Cardinal Simon Celli, he was born in Orvieto, which means the old town, okay, of the antiquity of the city. Mr. Simon Celli was born in the old town. All right, so it fits him perfectly. He just happened to be a good friend of Arnold de Wyon, and he was potentially going to be elected, but he didn't. And so the 75th Pope prophecy was wrong. It had nothing to do with the guy that actually did end up in the seat of the Pope. Okay? But whatever the case, all that to say, today, as we start off here, I want to show you guys a few of the prophecies that did appear to fit the last 36 popes, the popes going off into the future after the writing of Arnold de Wyon, and yes, I do believe that de Wyon actually wrote this, okay? I don't believe that Saint Malachy was the one that wrote this. It seems to me like the writing's on the wall. It was de Wyon that wrote this. So going off into the future, de Wyon's just writing vague statements that can just about fit any pope going off into the future if you try hard enough. And by the way, friends, people do try pretty hard. In fact, Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, many websites out there that are trying to make these prophecies fit. You'll notice something. All right, notice that the first 74 popes, the prophecies had something to do with their names, like their family names, or where they were born. They're very specific, and keep this point in mind. The short motto, the phrase, had something specifically to do with the Pope, not with external circumstances, not with things going on around the world, not with other leaders that were present in the world at that time, okay? And that's going to come up later, but specifically about that Pope. Usually, again, something with their name, their family name, or where they were born, all right? Or something about their past that was very significant, okay? Now, we're going to look at a few of these 36 popes that came after the writing of this prophecy that actually seem, keyword, like they're a fit, okay, because I want to be a little fair. Okay, I want to be somewhat fair here and give the other side of the story. Again, the writing's on the wall. Arnold de Wyon is the one that wrote this, but let's be fair. Let's look at some of them that seem to match going forward into the future here. Here's a few that still kind of match, okay? You'll notice an element of stretching here, but they still, these, in my opinion, these were the three that I thought were the best, okay? So here's Paul VI. He was around 1963 to 1978. He was Flos Florum, which means flower of flowers. You ready for a stretch here? His arms displayed 3 lilies. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but come on, that's a stretch. John Paul I, 1978, his phrase said, "De medietate lunae," whatever that means. Okay, it's Latin, but of the half moon is what it means. All right, this one's suggestive. Okay, check this out. He was born in Canal de Agardo Diocese of Belluno, which apparently means lovely moon. And John Paul I reigned for 34 days from a half a moon to the next half a moon, and then he died. Okay, so he was a pretty short pope. And sure, it's interesting that he died at half a moon, and he started his papal reign at half a moon. But come on, how half was the half? And I don't know. It is somewhat suggestive, but come on. Most of these, by the way, almost all of them from 75 on were complete misses. You can't figure out anything to do with the popes. Nothing, okay? These are just the best ones that I could find. Here's John Paul II, De Laboror Solis. He was laborer of the sun, is what that means, I believe. He was born during a solar eclipse, May 18th, 1920, and he died near a partial solar eclipse on April 8th, 2005. He's referred to as the Pope of the Eclipse by some people. I don't know who. I haven't heard that until I heard about this prophecy. Okay, so like I said, those are the best ones I could find. Really, you can't really find a whole lot that matches. Here's a few examples of those that didn't match at all. We have Pia Civitas in bello, that means pious city in war. And this one was connected to Innocent the Fourth in 1591, but he wasn't connected to any pious city that was at war. I mean, there's no connection. Jerusalem, by the way, was not at war. That would be the first pious city that would probably come to anybody's mind. That wasn't at war. Rome was not at war. And so, yeah, a total miss. He botched that one. That's a false prophecy. Here's another one, Aquila Rapax, which means, and I know I'm totally mispronouncing the Latin, rapacious eagle. And this one is connected to Pius VII, 1800 to 1823. And there's absolutely nothing to do with Pius VII and an eagle, or a really hungry eagle, or anything for that matter concerning an eagle. So, yeah, we have Religio Depopulata, religion destroyed, and this one is connected with Benedict the 15th, 1914 through 1922. And again, there's nothing to connect this religion destroyed to Benedict the 15th. Religion wasn't destroyed, neither did he try to destroy any religion. Now, some people try to connect some of these papal prophecies to outside events that had nothing to do with the Pope, that were happening in other parts of the world. But see, that's stretching so far that really, I mean, what does that have to do with the Pope at that point, if you know what I mean? I mean, if you have to say, for example, when I mentioned that rapacious eagle, that actually had something to do with Napoleon, because he could possibly, maybe, be described as a hungry eagle, you know, cruising around and destroying, taking over the world with his armies. If you have to go that far to say this prophecy is about this Pope, but it's actually talking about Napoleon, you've gone way off the reservation. At that point, I mean, you'd have to say the Word of Faith movement has much to learn from those from those who are trying to make these stretches. My goodness. But anyway, when you guys look at these 37 prophecies after Arnold DeWine, you know, looking forward in the future from the time he wrote that down, which I am thoroughly convinced that he's the one that wrote it. Saint Malachy, whoever that was, had nothing to do with these prophecies. I can just about guarantee. I mean, the writing's on the wall. You go back in history and everything's a slam dunk. You move forward from that time and everything's all jacked up. It's hit and misses, vague. You really have to stretch to make something work. Yeah, Arnold DeWine, he wrote these. I can just about guarantee it. But, and guys, that's about it. Really, now you've seen it. So when you hear about this, realize this. A, if this is a prophecy from, if this is a prophecy, then it's a false prophecy, because the 37 popes after the time of Arnold DeWine are all botched. They're all messed up, okay? He clearly is a false prophet if these are prophecies. Therefore, we shouldn't be listening to this. Or B, it's not a prophecy at all. It is a fraud. And I'm leaning towards B, fraud. Because, I mean, it just lines up perfectly. Everything that's old is awesome. It's perfect. As soon as you get past Arnold DeWine's time and looking off into the future, suddenly nothing fits right, except for the fact that Pope 75, the one that he probably wanted to be elected, matched the cardinal who did not get elected. So anyway, that's it. Petros Romanos, the Saint Malachy Prophecy. Now you know. Now you're informed. So with that, If you want to help support youth apologetics training, I do have a P.O. box if you would like to help me out. It is 2392 Loveland, that's all one word, Loveland, Colorado, 80539. I would very much appreciate that. Also, if you guys would like to catch me on Google+, Facebook, or Twitter, that'd be great. I love talking to you guys. And so with that, I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.